you must live this way, and you must do this, and you must conform, and you must be a good Muslim girl, and you must marry the person that we choose for you. And that was the program that I had followed. That was a huge struggle growing up. So I really grew up with no self-esteem, no sense of self-worth, no idea what was right or what was wrong, or what I should or what I shouldn't do.
Today's guest is my dear friend, Nazish Qazi. Is from a Bangladeshi background and grew up in England. At the age of 31, she changed her career, found her true calling, and returned to university and graduated with Master's Psychology, and has since created a successful career as a life coach, personal and professional development trainer, and author. Welcome, Naz.
Oh, hello, Anita. Thank you so much for having me on.
What is one of the most courageous things you have done?
Oh, my goodness. I guess I've done loads, but the one thing that I talk about in my book, and the one thing that really was a huge turning point in my life, is when I walked away from the one thing that I had wanted forever, the one thing that I had dreamed of, the one thing that meant everything to me. And that was the man that I was in love with. And he was my husband. And I walked away from that. And I was 26 years old. Long time ago.
Very courageous.
Yes. So there's a long story behind that.
So Naz, tell us, if that's okay, what led you to leaving him?
Wow. Well, it wasn't the dream relationship I had dreamed about.
Okay.
It was turbulent, it was difficult, it was rough, it was up and down, and basically I was going mad. I was going out of my brain, and it was affecting my health.
Oh, gosh.
And one morning I woke up. In fact, I hadn't really slept the whole night. I was coughing and coughing and coughing the whole night, and I was running out of breath, and I was going like this. I couldn't breathe. I thought I was dying.
Gosh.
And I was alone in my house because the man was away for the weekend, and it was a Sunday morning. I was literally having an absolute meltdown because I was panicking at the same time. I didn't know what was going on. Then I was trying to call a doctor. And in those days, we didn't have the internet and we didn't have mobile phones. So I was scrolling through the yellow pages, trying to find a local doctor because I didn't even have a doctor in that area.
Oh, gosh.
We just moved into the outskirts of a village, tiny little cottage. It was lovely, but there was nobody there and there was no neighbours, and I didn't know who to turn to. I eventually found a doctor, managed to call him. He came out like 45 minutes later, an emergency doctor, and said, "Oh, you're having an asthma attack." This was a horrible realization, and he put me on a nebulizer and everything, and called the ambulance. And in the meantime, I'd called my parents as well because I didn't dare tell them what I was going through. Because you see, I came from a background where I was told, you must live this way, and you must do this, and you must conform, and you must be a good Muslim girl, and you must marry the person that we choose for you. And that was the program that I had followed. And until I was like 13, and I thought, I know I need to choose my own man. And so it became a thing that the man that I do choose in the end would have to be a good one. So I did marry a man that that I chose myself. It wasn't an arranged marriage. I fell in love. I met him at work, knew him for a good couple of years, and then I finally revealed him to my parents, and my mother went ballistic.
Gosh, as they do. They have all these dreams for us.
Yeah, she had all her dreams for me, and so I had to prove that it was going to work. We didn't really want to get married, but my mother insisted, and then we were living together, and things just went from bad to worse to worse to worse. until one morning I woke up and I was sick, and then I was in hospital. And my parents were distraught because they had no clue what was going on, and I couldn't reveal that to them. So then, let's say I got better, the asthma didn't go away. It stuck with me, continued in that relationship for another year, and it still continued to be up and down, up and down. It was a crazy, erratic, traumatic relationship. I had no friends because my life revolved around him and his friends.
Who did you turn to? Did you have anyone to turn to talk to?
No.
Wow.
Myself. I went inside myself. The only person I talk to is me and my God, if you like. Although I'm not a religious person per se. Went inside and listened to my intuitive self. Finally, I got the courage to realize that this isn't working. And if I stay in this, it's going to kill me, and possibly, and I was still hoping, that this was going to work, because this is the one man I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. This is the man I had taken my vows with. This is the man I had promised to spend the rest of my life with. And it was in my thinking, my belief system, that when you are married, that is for life.
Yes,
that
absolutely.
Is, I've made that commitment, and I'm the kind of person who sticks to my commitments. So to then realize I have to leave was huge. Then to realize, okay, I'm going to let everybody down, especially my parents.
Yes.
What are they going to say? It's going to be awful. They're going to out me. I'm going to be outed from my cultural society, whatever. And I really had to struggle with that one, to take that decision. So I took the easy way. I said to him, I'm going abroad. I said, okay. So I went abroad, and I also talk about that in the book. And I went off to work on cruise ships. And I worked on cruise ships for about a year. And I still thought, I'm going to go back to him and things will work out. And by that time, he'd sorted himself out. I came back and things were even worse. He had run himself into debt and used up all the money that I'd sent home. It simply wasn't working. Then eventually, I woke up one day and realized that this wasn't the love that I had dreamed of.
No, it doesn't sound like it.
This isn't the man that's going to be the right partner for me forever. He's not supportive. He doesn't understand. He's not really there for me. He's only concerned about his own work and his self. And what he's focused on, which was his music. And then I made the decision to leave, knowing that my parents, my mother will probably go ballistic. Yes. I was so afraid. I was so afraid of what might happen. But at the same time, I finally began to value who I am and what I'm worth, and value the fact that I need to live my life the way I need to lead my life, that I couldn't continue being enforced and trying to follow a culture or a paradigm that was set upon me, and that I simply didn't fit in. So at the age of 26, 27, I made that decision and left it and didn't come back. I didn't come back to him at all. And that's when my life really started. And I began to grow from the inside.
That's the thing, isn't it? Like you say, your parents, the whole culture, it's not just you're leaving your husband, but there's a whole conformity. There's a whole culture that you feel you're going to let down.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Life really shouldn't be like that. Everybody's different. We're all individuals. Sometimes things don't work out.
And it's very much a part of it's. The hardest thing is to break a belief system.
Yes.
And we don't even know that we have these belief systems until they come to the fore and hitting us in the face, and you think, is that really what I'm supposed to do? I think you talked about it in your earlier podcast when you mentioned Bend It Like Beckham.
Yes.
And as I was saying, Bend It Like Beckham was a significant film for me when I was younger. And you talked about it as well in your podcast. And if you haven't heard it yet from Anita, that is a brilliant podcast about her life, her story. and go listen to it now on her site.
Yes, thank you. And that's in episode 1.
Yeah, episode 1. And it was pretty mind-blowing. Hats off to you, Anita. I truly am inspired by your story. You are so brave.
Thank you.
Interestingly, that was an insightful film, and at a time that meant a lot to us. So interestingly, that also was significant for me, because I thought, oh gosh, I'm not the only one.
Yes,
I'm not the only one who has grown up second generation Asian in England and having all these difficulties, because I grew up with one culture at home and another culture at school, and they didn't match. They simply didn't even overlap anywhere. There was just a totally different way of thinking. That was a huge struggle growing up. So I really grew up with no self-esteem, no sense of self-worth, no idea what was right or what was wrong, or what I should or what I shouldn't do. I was just told, this is what you do. This is the life that you must follow. Don't question it. As I grew older and then I reached my teens, and I began to question all of these things. And by the time I met the man that I wanted to spend my life with, I was 25. You think you've got it all sorted out by then, right?
Absolutely. and we have not.
And we certainly haven't. This is the beginning. And so I thought, this is what I want. This is what I want for my life. And it didn't work out. But thank God it didn't work out. Anita, I am just so grateful for that relationship, and to that man as well. Because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have grown in the way that I have. I wouldn't have taken the leaps and bounds, my late changing career direction, going back to university, my real true passion, which is psychology, and then coming to a point in my life where I feel so stable and strong inside myself that I can help others, that I can show others the way to finding that strength.
Wow, what a journey you have been on.
Yeah.
And I think, like you say, for me as well, like you said about Bending Like Beckham, I mean, that film has been running 20 years now, and it is so popular as it was when the day it came out. Yeah. Because being Asian, you can relate to it. Mm-hmm. Very relatable. Mm-hmm. And that's fantastic.
Yeah.
What took you on your journey of a master's of psychology then? Is that something you fell naturally into from your experiences?
Well, that's a wonderful question. Thank you for asking. I came back from working on the cruise ships. I had various other jobs, and I didn't find any of them very fulfilling. And I found myself working for a training company as an advisor for potential new recruits and clients that were coming on board. So my job was to find new clients and match them up with the trainees that we had. It wasn't my job to train the trainees or coach them, but I would do that on the side, in my off time. I would even go in on Saturdays and find myself coaching these trainees. And I loved it. I found my real passion in helping them. At the time, it's funny how life kind of brings these situations in front of us, which makes you question what you're doing. So I was about 28, 29 then, beginning to think, okay, I didn't finish that's a whole nother story. I didn't finish college the first time, because actually what happened is I got my heart broken, awful relationship, and basically lost my place at university the first time around when I was 21. Okay. And so here I am again at 28 years old, thinking, what have I done with my life, and where's my career going? And I really, I started to question everything. And I was in a relationship again, and this time it was going nowhere. I was a very nice guy, but he didn't want to get married. He didn't want to have kids. I felt the clock ticking, and I thought, well, what am I going to do in my life? And I started to ask myself some really important questions, like, if I never have kids, how will I feel?
Okay.
And if I never get married, is that okay? And I imagine myself, 60 years on, when I'm old and grey and like now? And and would I be happy if I never get married and never have kids? So I asked myself all these questions, and suddenly it was like these clouds that I had been carrying and this baggage that I'd been carrying. So I started to drift away, and it all became clear.
Excellent.
And I thought, what I really need to do is go back to university and study psychology, because that's where my real interest has always been. I actually went to art college the first time, but I still went and studied books on psychology. I would find myself in the library, even when I was a teenager, reading books on Freud and Jung and so on. So, yeah, I'm glad I did. It's one of the best decisions I ever made, to go back to university. Yeah. And that was a scary one as well. That was a courageous one, because I had to quit my job. And not only did I quit my job, I bought a house. Or the other way around, I bought a house, I quit my job and went to university, all in the space of 6 months. Given my track record, I was nervous about whether I was going to pass my course, whether I was going to get through even the first semester. And it was tough. I can't say it was easy. It was tough. I slogged it through and made it work and learned my ways. And 4 years later, I came out with not only a degree, but a master's degree as well. It confirmed for me that was exactly where I was supposed to be going, because in that time, I had confirmed in my brain, researched what it is to be a coach. And it wasn't very popular then. I mean, this is around 1999, 2000 time. And suddenly I woke up one day and I thought, I think I want to coach people, about their life. I'd never heard of a life coach. What on earth is a life coach then? We didn't know. And I decided that's what I wanted to do. And that was going against the norm, because everybody else in my course wanted to become management consultants, and earn lots of money. And my intention was to help people on the ground, everyday people who have everyday problems. So one of the best decisions I ever made, because I haven't gone back, and it's gone from strength to strength in finding that I am doing the right thing, because when I'm coaching, I lose track of time. I don't know about you. I love it so much. And initially I did it for nothing.
Tell me now, you are the author of the book, Lessons from a Frog Princess.
Yes, and here it is.
Healed from a broken heart and magically manifest true love. So tell me about it. I'm really excited for our conversation about that.
Oh, really? Thank you so much for asking. I tell you something, Anita. I never, ever, ever thought that I would talk about my past out loud.
We all think about that. I mean, hey, I've talked about my personal life in depth to the extent I never, ever thought I'd talk, publicly about my sexual abuse.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And it's in my podcast.
And you are so brave. So brave. Hats off to you.
Thank you.
In the same way, I mean, I was conditioned and programmed to believe that you have one life partner and that's it. And don't you ever think about, anybody else. And if you do, you wouldn't dare speak about it. I get to my 50s now and realize I have a huge story. I have such a huge story behind me, and I've helped so many people along the way. Whilst I was coaching for people in business, I would find people coming to me and talking about their relationships and talking about their personal problems. I would give them coaching on that. This started to stir in my mind that I've got all this experience about relationships. I've been helping quite a few people not only recover from their broken hearts and finding themselves again and finding strength again and releasing the baggage, but also in finding true love, because I've helped quite a few people find the true partner that they've been looking for forever.
Fantastic.
So, and that's what got me to thinking I need to write the book. And then I started to think about the structure of the book, and there was this story and that story and that story, and all of these episodes in my life, which suddenly I thought, I need to tell people about my relationships. Okay. I did. The book has several excerpts, if you like, from various relationships that I've had, which inevitably went wrong, and from which I learned a huge lesson in each. And each of those lessons was so significant that they helped me grow, they helped me release, they helped me learn what I really needed to learn.
Excellent.
To the point where I could turn my life around and say, that's who I actually am. And that's what I need to do. And that's who I need to be with. It's not just about self-love, because, we all bandy around this word, self-love, you have to be kind to yourself. And it's much more than that. The thing is, that's one thing. And the other thing is that people don't really know, when you have never been shown, when you've never been taught how to self-love. What is self-love? That's just one section of it. So I actually give the tools step by step on how to get there, what you need to do. I do a mirror exercise, and this is a very practical exercise. It's not just thinking about it. You actually do this exercise in front of the mirror. And the results are amazing. I see my clients grow in significant ways and come back raving, "Hey, Naz, you won't believe what happened." This is the stories that they tell me. So
and that's what you want to hear.
Yeah, and that's what I want to share with more of the world, because it's really important to me. It's become so important to me. It's not about the money, and it's not about fame. It's not about being recognized. I don't care about any of that. What I care about is that there are thousands and millions of people like you and me out there, men and women, not just women, who are hurting, who have been hurt, who are suffering, who simply get told, just pull up your socks and put on a brave face, and they put on a mask and go to work and get on with their lives, and perhaps find another relationship and do the whole cycle again, and find themselves even more broken, even more hurt. And nobody ever shows them exactly what to do, exactly how to get out of that cycle, how to break that program, and what is it that they really need to learn. And be strong, but that's not the answer. That's my intention, is to reach as many people as possible who have been there and want to find their way out and want to find real, true, authentic love.
And I think that's absolutely excellent, everything you've said, because it is about breaking those patterns, and it's not about just pulling up your socks, like you said. It's about going within and finding out, actually, what are my behavior patterns? What are my triggers? Where am I going? What am I doing here?
And those are the hardest things to ask oneself. And even when you think you know the answer, you don't really want to look at them. It's too scary.
Absolutely. It's not an easy thing to do, of course not.
And that's when you need a coach. That's when you need someone to hold your hand, someone who's going to guide you, someone who's going to nurture you, someone who's going to help you. And that was the purpose of writing my book. Lessons from the Frog Princess. What
resources do you recommend, daily tips, steps, to anyone that wants to heal from a broken heart?
Go out and get my book. And if you can't get my book, you can find me on my coaching site, gvondisha.com, or you can find me on Instagram, Nazish Qazi. If you're not interested in any of that, that's totally fine. I would say take a little bit of time, because what we tend to do is we tend to run around all day being busy, and the hurt that we're carrying is often overlaid by busyness and more busyness and doing this and doing that and work and looking after the kids and. That hurt that we're carrying often gets pushed down and down and down and down, and then we even forget it's there ourselves.
Yes.
But the most important thing is to let it out. And if you can't let it out, it will stay there and it will infest the basement of your mind, shall we say. It becomes like a dragon in the dungeon. I talk about dragons as well in the book and how to conquer them. A little thing that anyone can do is just spend 10 minutes a day. I wouldn't even say 15, just 10 minutes a day being quiet, being still. You don't have to go into deep Zen-like meditation. You can just be still and be quiet and just listen to your thoughts. Put that phone away, put the TV off, put the book down, whatever it is you're doing, just sit and stare into space, or stare into the sky. Have a deep breath and hear your own thoughts. And as they come up, just let them be. And it's a little exercise in mindfulness, if you haven't done that before.
Mm-hmm.
But I find that so healing. And once you get calm, then you can begin to heal. At the moment, I'm working on developing my new course. And the new course is based on my book. So there's 9 lessons in the book, and the course is going to be like 9 workshops over 9 weeks. And it's going to be available online. And it's for those people out there, like I mentioned, who have been through a heartbreak, have had a divorce or a separation, a relationship which has gone awry, and it may have happened a week before or 10 years before, it doesn't matter, but they want to heal themselves from that pain and let it go and not let it happen again. Because one of the things we're often afraid of is we get into these relationships and then we're afraid that we don't want to repeat the old pattern, but we don't know how to break it. So in the course, I show people how to break that cycle, and then I show them how to create new programs and how to attract the love that they really, truly want. So this is the course I'm now developing, and it's going to be out soon.
Excellent. And everyone can get on top of that. If you need it, do it.
Thank you.
Where can the listeners find your book online? What's your website?
Yeah, my website's gvondisha.com, as I said. The book's available on all major bookstores, on Amazon, Waterstones, Barnes & Noble. It's available in all internet sites. And I'll just show it again for those who missed it before. So it's Lessons from a Frog Princess, Heal from Heartbreak, and Magically Manifest True Love. And it's for, and actually let me show you what we can. I did lots of little paintings for each chapter as well, because it's got a feeling of being in a fairy tale.
Okay.
So, because I used to love reading fairy tales when I was little, and that's why the theme about the Frog Princess is how she overcomes her frogginess.
Thank you for sharing your courageous journey with us today. By doing so, you have helped so many others. Nazish Qazi.
Thank you. Thank you, Anita.
What is your definition of courage? Because the podcast is called Create the Courage to be Fearless. So what's your definition of courage?
Well, I would say my definition of courage is doing what you know is right, but you're so afraid of, and doing it anyway. It's simply, you have to do something, and you're so scared that you're going to have to do it, but you get up and do it anyway. That's what I think courage is.